Hello and welcome to part 2 of research assignment exercise assignment for Sarit Kanabar. I will first go through introducing myself, tell you more a bit about myself, then we will go through the different philosophical worldviews and the assumptions that go with them. We will also link it to the quantitative, qualitative, mixed methods and practice-led streams. Then I will explain to you why I have selected the quantitative stream, and it will finally conclude with what we have been through, the summary, as well as a few conclusions, and then I will identify to you the references that we have used for this presentation. So my name is Sarit Kanabar. I currently work as an EHS manager for Raytheon Australia in the defense industry. My current education, which I've completed, is a master's in occupational health and safety, a bachelor's in psychology and human resource management, including industrial relations. I'm currently finishing a master's in hygiene and toxicology. Hopefully what I'm currently studying will give you an idea of why I've chosen quantitative methodology, but we will go through it in detail further down the track. Let's get started. Philosophical worldviews influence the way we do research and the methodology we choose for our research. Therefore, I will now explain the 4 worldviews which have impacted my methodology selection. Depending on the beliefs of the researcher, these beliefs will guide their action in their research in the selection of the appropriate methodology. These worldviews are based on the researcher's discipline, the research community that they are part of, as well as past research experiences they have had. All these are individual items that I will discuss further, which will impact the way that I have selected my option, being in this case, the quantitative method. Each worldview and related methodology has a range of assumptions which are discussed. In this case, the post-positivist view is based on a traditional form of research which is more linked to quantitative research methodology and sometimes referred to as empirical science. In this approach, there are certain characteristics for this view. The characteristics consist of deterministic characteristic, reductionist characteristic, that it's all about empirical observation and measurement, and it's about verifying a theory. Basically, in this case, in the deterministic view, we seek to determine the effects or outcomes of something. For example, the impact of X on Y, is there a causal relationship? To do this, there would be a hypothesis that's either accepted or rejected based on descriptive and inferential statistics. You would look at statistical values such as mean, mode, standard deviation, correlation coefficients, do t-tests, ANOVAs, etc. You're basically trying to see whether X impacts Y. When it comes to reductionist character, this is where the researcher tends to reduce ideas into small discrete sets of tests of meaning, which you would have a hypothesis and a research question, through which you will develop the knowledge. Furthermore, you would collect empirical data by conducting measurements which would either accept or reject the hypothesis. Note, we are only stating we either accept or reject the hypothesis. We do not say that the one causes the other. The other concepts are based on, other characters are already based on empirical data and measurements we've done. These could be done through various other tools. We are also then verifying the theory. A few of the assumptions that come through it are knowledge is conjectural, meaning the absolute truth can never be found. Thus, it is all evidence-based research is always imperfect or fallible. It is the reason we say accept or reject the hypothesis, not prove or disprove. Research is about making claims and then accepting them or refining them. Research is about making sure that we either accept or reject the claim. Again, supporting the previous assumption. Then this research based on the post-positivist view is all based on data and evidence that we collect, which helps us shape our knowledge. This research seeks to develop relevant and true statements which explain relationships. Basically, does the data support what our hypothesis is at the end of the day? Then we go through, this gives you an objective view. We are researching individuals across a chosen sample and then gives you reliability of your research. This explains the post-positivist view. Next view is the constructivist worldview. The This constructivist approach is closely linked to qualitative research methodology. The approach aims to understand the perception of individuals. This approach, worldview, is based on the notion that individuals develop subjective meaning of their experiences, meanings directed towards objects or things. Each individual's view may be different based on their experience and environmental context. Their social and historical experience at the time developed their worldview. In this worldview, when research is conducted, you ask open-ended questions whereby the participant then shares their view. This is where the researcher listens to the participant and interacts with the participant. In the worldview, theory is developed from the information collected compared to post-positivist, where we are testing a theory. In this case, the characteristics we've gone through are they are trying to understand the world meaning of other people, multiple participant meanings, multiple people are involved and trying to understand each individual's meanings. Obviously, the environment that you are brought up in, the social and historical context have an impact in developing your worldview, as well as it generates a theory. In the previous one, we are either supporting or denying a theory. Basically, the assumptions are human beings construct the meanings as they engage with the world, that humans engage their world and make sense of it based on their historical and social perspective, and the basic generation of meaning is always based on social concept arising in and out of interaction with the community which they live in. Now go through a transformative view. The transformative view states that research needs to be linked with politics and political agenda of change. This research is power and justice centered, and therefore the research has an agenda, an action agenda for reform that may change lives of the participants. This research often begins with to address current social issues, which is the focal point, and as to which it transforms or causes major change in through patterns concerning the area of scientific endeavor. This research assumes that the research group will proceed collaboratively so as to not marginalize the participants in the research. The research provides a form of voice for the participants, thus collaborative, and the research places importance on the study of lives and experience of those groups that have been traditionally marginalized. Research focuses on inequities with the marginalized groups and links the political and social action to their inequities. The last method worldview is the pragmatic worldview. This approach linked to both quantitative and qualitative research, thus is referred to as mixed method research. In this case, we are integrating quantitative and qualitative research. The researcher tends to focus on how to conduct the research as well as the problem at hand, thus is referred to as problem-centered. It also takes the pluralistic approach to get knowledge about the problem and is about what is practiced in the real world. The other things to consider are assumptions, that pragmatism is not committed to any one system of philosophy and reality. Individual researchers have the freedom of choice. Pragmatists do not see the world as an absolute unity, that there is no one true problem. Pragmatists agree the research always occurs in social, historical, political and other contexts, meaning these things affect the research, and this research opens doors to multiple methods and worldviews. I've chosen quantitative method. I've studied statistics for the past 12 years in my bachelor's of psychology and my master's, and have done a thesis on the impact of Air Force jets noise at different power levels on Air Force workers. This required me to collect quantitative data such as decibel levels and audiometric results to do comparison on exposure versus ear performance in an audiometric test. Theory stated the higher the noise, the greater the impact. So this was supported by my research, where I did t-tests and did multiple other statistical data such as modes, medians, standard deviations. This basically showed me that yes, one does affect another. Thus, my existing skills support the need for this research. My future career is becoming a certified hygienist, and the profession involves taking measurements and is all about quantitative measurements using the measurement devices determining the impact of an exposure on the health of a worker. Having worked in generic OHS field, my personal interest is now in safety, which is backed by science as well as maths and the health of workers. This is why I have chosen this particular option. Conclusion: we have gone through the 4 worldviews, we have identified which methodologies are linked to which worldview, and we have gone through the selection of quantitative methodology and why I have selected that, and the next slide will identify the references I have used in this research.